Well, hello again. This is becoming a bit of a habit, isn't it? A fair bit of twaddle to comment on this week. It's the 6th of December 2024. I was going to set the timer. Because I don't want it to run more than 30 minutes. I don't know whether it will or not. I mean, there's a fair few notes here today. So there was no alien invasion, as predicted. It was going to happen on Wednesday, wasn't it? It was a bit precise. No alien invasion. So now apparently, because it didn't happen on Wednesday, there's a window. The alien invasion is not going to happen on a specific date. You know, there's a window of a few months now apparently that it might happen. And of course it won't. You know, it's like disclosure, isn't it? Disclosure's coming this year. You know, Steve Bassett we're getting disclosure before Christmas. You know, he's been saying that for 20 years. And of course disclosure doesn't come, so it's going to be next year. And it doesn't come, so it's going to be next year. And then it doesn't come, so it's going to be next year. And of course it never comes. Because there's nothing to disclose. E.T.'s not coming here. E.T. has never been here. Oh dear. So that's because it's all science fiction rubbish, of course. No one can predict the future. Certainly nobody can predict an alien invasion. Aliens aren't going to come here and fight their battles between aliens, you know, travelling light years across space to have a war here so that we can join in. I mean, it's just, you know, a bit of critical thinking, and you can put a line through it immediately. It's just complete and utter rubbish, isn't it? Complete and utter rubbish. You can probably hear the cicadas again. I called them cicadias the last couple of videos, but apparently they're cicadas found all over the world. Okay, so on one of the channels that I left a comment on, I can't remember which one it was now, but I left a comment saying remote viewing is a load of rubbish, there's no such thing, you know, and this guy left a comment saying I have that ability, I can prove it. Can you prove it? Can you, you know, I've said it's rubbish. He said I can do it, I can prove it, can you? And I left a comment saying, yes, I certainly can. And this is an open invitation to any remote viewer. Remote view my house, inside, outside, how many floors, how many rooms, how many garages, the decor, and leave a detailed description of that below. And I left that comment to this chap, you know, and said, you won't be able to, of course, because there's no such thing as remote viewing. No such thing as remote viewing. Lou Elizondo, you know, the Darth Vader of Guantanamo Bay. If you watch this, Lou, challenge is open to you too, mate. I look forward to your detailed description. Oh dear. So put a line through remote viewing, put a line through alien invasions, fake or otherwise. No one's got the technology to pull off a fake alien invasion. And if anybody did and one got shot down, people are going to find humans inside the spacecraft, in inverted commas, very quickly, aren't they? So, you know, all rubbish, science fiction, hogwash, all of it. I'm getting through this pretty quick. It might not run for half an hour after all. So if anyone says to you they can do remote viewing, ask them for a demonstration. And not this, oh yeah, I'm getting this, yeah, it's dark, there might be two doors. One of them looks like it might be open, you know. This is the sort of bullshit psychic mediums do, you know. Either you can remote view or you can't. If you can remote view something, you can accurately describe it, can't you? It'd be like viewing it in person, as if you were standing there. That's what remote viewing is all about, supposedly. You know, so when they... I used to work with someone that said he could do remote viewing. Hard to believe that the company I work for does employ nutcases from time to time. And I said, okay, well, give us a demonstration. And I gave him that challenge. He'd never been to my house. And he said, I'm not going to do that. And I said, well, why not? And he said, I choose not to. I choose not to provide a demonstration. And I said, well, QED. QED, which is quod erat demonstratum in Latin, as demonstrated. He could not demonstrate his ability. I said he couldn't do it. I demonstrated that he couldn't do it. I'm sure if he could do it, he would be more than happy to demonstrate that and ram it down everybody's throats. No one that claims remote viewing ability will ever demonstrate it to you. Guarantee it. So that's just an aside. Yeah, I got a comment from Jon Stewart, the alien interview guy that's been pushing this nonsense for a long time as being real. Although I did see him yesterday, I think, being interviewed by somebody, and he's doing a bit of backpedaling. He's saying, if I got this right, he's not sure whether it's real or not. But he's always given me the impression that he believes it. He's wasted an awful lot of time and money on this silly rubber alien video. And Jon Stewart, he said, you haven't responded to my challenge, Steve. Will you have me on? And I thought, well, sure, why not? I don't know whether Jon Stewart considers me having him on to be some kind of challenge, but it wouldn't be, I think it would take about 10 minutes to completely destroy anything Jon Stewart had to say, to be honest. The video is a very obvious fake. The alien interview video, it's dark, there's no sound. Bob Dean is in silhouette. Bob Dean paunch, Bob Dean stripy tie, Bob Dean necklace, Bob Dean wispy beard. The voice is disguised because we would recognise it immediately as being Bob Dean. The face is disguised because we would immediately recognise it as being Bob Dean. The green vertical line, I've given a demonstration of that in a previous video. It's, Jon Stewart's asked all these PhDs, they got no idea what it could be. He's obviously not asked the right people, has he? Because it's very obviously an oscilloscope. A vertical line trace on the oscilloscope. It's even the right colour, with a little dot at the bottom, because at the time it was done with an oscilloscope with a CRT in it. And, I gave a demonstration of that. An oscilloscope was used for effect. Obvious fake. Was it the ONI or the DNI? Jon Stewart said, well, how would they have known about that in 1996, And I mentioned that in a video before, because Bob Lazar used ONI or DNI on his fake W2 form. In 1987, was it? Whenever it was, anyway. When Bob Lazar started pushing all this bloody rubbish. So, if you really want to come on, John, we'll come on and we'll have a chat about it. But it's rubbish, and I'm going to tell you it's rubbish. And I'm going to say to you, why on earth would you think there was anything to it? I haven't seen his latest video. He's claimed to have shown who Victor is. I don't know who he's claiming Victor to be. I'm not going to pay $8, obviously, to watch the video, because it's going to be complete and utter rubbish. Obviously, I can afford $8, but I'm not going to burn money on science fiction drivel. There was, on this video, they left a link to Jon Stewart's site or something, saying, if you want to know about it, click on this link. And I clicked on the link, and a big warning banner come up on the computer screen. Warning, unsafe site. This site may be trying to steal your information. So I just clicked on the back to safety box. I thought, I'm not that curious. I'm sure whatever Jon Stewart has got to say, whatever new information Jon Stewart has to put forward, is going to turn up for free pretty shortly. So I'll take a look at it. But it's Bob Dean. No one is going to convince me it's not Bob Dean. Yeah, okay, so that was the John Stewart thing. Okay, so I saw Gary Nolan. Not a pleasant experience. He's a peculiar looking rooster, isn't he, Gary Nolan? He was talking about an unnamed physicist with top secret clearances. Probably Eric Davis and or Hal Puthoff, that told him recovered ET craft have no power source. Now that, strangely enough, I do believe that. Balloons don't tend to have power supplies. Recovered ET craft have no power source. Okay. No nuclear reactor. No antimatter reactor. Well, that would be nuclear, come to think of it, wouldn't it? They must cheat somehow. This is what Gary Nolan said. This is apparently what he was told. They must cheat somehow and use a form of free energy, or a form of energy, which I assume he means free energy, that doesn't involve exploding the sun every second. A form of they must cheat and use a form of energy that doesn't involve exploding the sun every second. He's clueless, isn't he? Completely clueless. He might be a brilliant immunologist, but when it comes to physics and all this engineering stuff, he's got no idea. He's told us that as a kid, you know, he used to go and buy science fiction books. He's filled his head with these science fiction stories since he was, you know, knee-height or grasshopper. Since he could read, probably. And he believes all this bloody rubbish. And that's what it is, you know. There's no such thing as free energy, of course. Nothing in nature is free. Nothing in nature is free, you know. We get free energy from the sun, you know. We convert the visible light from the sun, photons, into electrical energy with photovoltaic panels. But that energy is not free for the sun, you know. It costs the sun millions of tons of hydrogen a second to provide us with this sunlight, you know. Nothing in nature is free. This is complete drivel. The real reason the recovered ET craft have no power source is science fiction. The unnamed physicist can't imagine what sort of power source an alien spacecraft might have. You've got to bear in mind, if someone claims to be a physicist and they say, you know, they've worked on an alien spacecraft, this is the power source and this is how, as far as they can tell, this is how it works. Physicists from all over the world are going to be looking at that under a microscope and saying, wait a minute, you know, no, I don't think so. So it's a lot easier to say there's no power source. You know, Lazar had a crack at it. Oh, his one had a power source. It was an element 115 reactor. Matter-antimatter reactor, you know, total annihilation reaction, matter and antimatter, assuming the mass of the two is the same, that converts that into electricity. He didn't say how, you know. How do they use the electricity exactly to travel through space? So Nolan's physicist thought, oh God, you know, Lazar looks like a complete moron with his description of how this works. Other physicists are going to look at it and say this is complete and utter rubbish. What can I say that's going to be more credible? I just can't think of anything to say. I know, I'll just say there's no power source. Somehow they take energy from the universe itself, from the galaxy itself, you know, dark energy. Suck it in like a vacuum cleaner. and convert it into some sort of energy they can use to bend space. Now, God. Actually, there's... Hang on, let's get one of the expired notes. You know, you see, they used it in Event Horizon. And in Event Horizon, the power source for that ship, you know, is rotating rings rotating within rings. And Sam Neill, was it? Anyway, the actor describes it. He's the scientist that invented it. And he describes it as when all the rings align, it opens a wormhole and you can go places in space, okay? Now, that guy that runs Skinwalker Ranch, I can't remember his name now, the real estate guy, Brendan Fugel, he showed, I think it was UFO Joe, was spending his money trying to make a small one of these. And that's obviously where it came from. It came from the movie Event Horizon. And he had this machine and it was spinning rings inside rings, you know, and the thing was hopping around on the floor. And I thought, this is complete and utter garbage, you know, drivel. If you could, this is supposed to be some sort of anti-gravity device that would open a wormhole. No, you know, this is just conning someone that's got far too much money. You know, just give them something to look at, something that makes a bit of a noise, you know. Another $1 million, I'm just on the cusp of making it work. Oh yeah, thanks Brendan. I think they've fallen out because it finally dawned on Fugel that it is in fact a complete and utter load of rubbish. Anyway, where was I? Bending space. Okay, so in that film, and I've seen it described elsewhere, they say, okay, what's the shortest path from A to B? And they'll say, well, it's a straight line. And they go, oh, no. If that's A and that's B, what you do is, and this could be 10 light years, okay? This distance can be 10 light years. So what you do is you fold space like that. So that both physical pieces of space-time, can't get the pen out of my pocket. You can see how well I prepare for these videos, can't you? So that the same 2 points in space-time occur in the same place at the same time, and your spaceship passes through. Once it's passed through, I won't try and push it through because it's got the pocket clip on it. Be here all day. And then the space unfolds again behind the spacecraft. Okay, now what's wrong with that? What's wrong with that description? Now it's fine in science fiction, but how wide is the strip of space-time you're going to be folding, you know? If that's the ship, is it a little bit either side, you know, just to make sure? I mean, you don't want to bend a strip of space-time back on itself and then transport 2/3 of the ship, 2/3 of the width of the ship through the little portal you've created. Because you're going to be a bit of a mess when you get to the other end, aren't you? So how wide is this strip of space? We know it's going to be 10 light years long. Okay, how wide is it? How exactly, with your spaceship sitting here, do you grab the end of this strip of space-time, 10 light years long, and bend it back to where your spaceship is? Now you've got to worry about how wide the strip of space-time is. You don't want any planets or stars in there. And you bend, anyway, that's the way this is supposed to work, right? I've seen this described, and it's complete and utter nonsense, isn't it? How would you, 10 light years away, you grab this individual piece of space-time that has to be exactly the right width, and bend it back to where your spacecraft is. So your spacecraft can pass through it and then you're 10 light years away. Fine in science fiction, not so fine in the real world. Or even off the real world. Absolute rubbish. Drivel. Anyway, so Lazar's description, complete and utter nonsense. This is why he won't talk to Arrow, of course, Bob Lazar. You know, everything he says would be dismissed as science fiction rubbish very quickly. Remember, he had KM after his name on the telephone directory at Los Alamos or wherever it was. Kirk Meyer, I think. He was an instrument technician for Kirk Meyer. doing radiation detectors and that sort of stuff. No, he wasn't a physicist working on alien spacecraft. Complete and utter drivel. Okay, so we've done that. Yeah, obviously the unnamed physicist that Gary Nolan was talking about should be subpoenaed. He should appear before Mace and Luna and co, along with Dr. Kozlowski, the new director of Arrow. Get them all in the same room at the same time. Then there'll be no he said, she said. George Knapp, well, that should be George Crap in my opinion, completely zero credibility, personal opinion. Apply a bit of critical thinking, you know. Has said that Arrow, or sorry, that I think the Congress, Mace and Co, that's right, Mace and Co were offered first-hand witnesses and they turned them down. I don't believe that for a minute, because Mace has said she wants to talk to the people that have actually worked on the stuff. Why would they turn away people that are saying, hey, I've done that, I can tell you all about it? They wouldn't. It's nonsense. And the reason he has to say that is there has to be a reason. As I've said so many times before, there has to be a reason why these first-hand witnesses won't go and talk to anybody that can check the story out, because they know it will be found to be science fiction almost immediately. So what they need to do is they need to get Mace and Luna and Kozlowski all together in a room, and get these first-hand witnesses in so that Kozlowski can make a note of their names and what their claims are, and then interview them, because that Arrow has the clearances that the Mace and Co don't have, and then look into what they're saying. If this physicist is saying we've got these spacecraft but they've got no power sources, actually come to think of it, Lazar's one, they must be from a different species and a power source. It's all science fiction rubbish. Say, okay, well, take us and show us. I suppose under those circumstances, they could show them, you know, an aluminium flying saucer with no power source. But obviously samples from an ET craft need to be taken. They need to be distributed amongst reputable universities, and they need to be verified as being extraterrestrial pieces of material. These first-hand witnesses, get them in a room with Arrow and Mace and Luna. There's no he said, she said, you know, then Arrow can say, right, we want you to come in. Like they did with David Grush. If you read the report from Arrow, they tried and tried and tried to get David Grush to come in. He wouldn't come in and talk to them. Lazar won't go and talk to them. MUFON won't go and talk to them. Because they know as soon as they do, their stories will be dismissed as science fiction rubbish. You know, Arrow will look into it and say there's nothing to it. If there was anything to it, they would be queuing up to tell their stories to Arrow so they could be verified. And then Arrow could come forward and say, hey, you know, there is evidence for this. But they're saying, oh, we don't trust Arrow. It doesn't matter who's running it. You know, they didn't trust Kirkpatrick. Now they don't trust Kozlowski. It doesn't matter how many people you put in there. They're never, ever going to talk to Arrow because they know they'll be discovered. But that's what needs to happen. Get them all in the same room at the same time, live TV camera, so we can all see exactly who's saying what. Personally, I wouldn't trust George Knapp as far as I could throw him, you know. Yeah. So they weren't offered first-hand witnesses, you know, and denied them. It doesn't make any sense. They're there to investigate this stuff. Why would you deny a first-hand witness? It's drivel, isn't it? Critical thinking, you know. Just apply a bit of critical thinking. Oh, our old mate Ross Coulthart, yeah. He was saying he's 100% sure ET's coming to this planet. He tells us eyewitness testimony is evidence, and it would convict somebody in a court of law. Now, that may be true. There's usually also corroborating evidence that would go along with that, but in a court of law, you have a tangible, physical suspect standing in the dock. The witness says, that's the guy, I saw shoot this fella, you know. And in the case of ET UAP, there never is a tangible suspect, you know. Witness testimony, I saw an orange orb, you know. Well, unless you've got the orange orb and you can take a physical sample of it and say, yeah, this is ET material, that testimony is meaningless, isn't it? There's no orange orb in the dock, is there? You know, there's... Ross Coulthart is a lawyer. He should know the difference. He should know that's true. So why is he bending the truth? Why is he bending the truth? Why is he saying that eyewitness testimony is evidence? It's because there is no tangible evidence. They can't say anything else, can they? These UFO ET fanboys, because it all falls in a heap. They're trying to prop it up. As I've said before, they're trying to put a few PSI into the deflating ETs coming here and crashing here balloon. You know, it's going... and they're going... Shh, 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 shh. Eyewitness testimony is evidence. Yeah, but there's no tangible suspect in the dock. There's no tangible evidence that, you know, that I saw that. You know, so it's complete and utter rubbish. If someone did actually say that they have, if they've testified under oath that they have worked on ET materials, they should be, it should be demanded of them by Congress or whoever that they produce tangible evidence of that. You know, they know from Grush and Co telling their science fiction stories last time that they can say anything they like. Nothing's going to happen to them. I was really disappointed that Mace and Luna seem to be falling for this bloody bullshit. You think people in Congress, or wherever they are in American politics over there, would be a bit smarter. Mind you, having said that, they've just elected Trump, haven't they? Oh, God. Might not be here next February. So Coulthart should know the difference. You know, if you had a witness testimony saying, you know, I saw a person murdering somebody, you know, and that person is not in court, you know, it's meaningless, isn't it? You know, I saw a shadowy figure, a silhouette of somebody beating him to death. You know, it's meaningless, isn't it? Unless there's a tangible suspect in the dock and there's other corroborating evidence, it's meaningless, isn't it? Working on ET craft is just a claim unless it's proven otherwise with tangible evidence. Just very quickly, Coulthart is trying to stir up some ET intrigue, talking about these drones all over these American bases, military bases. Hasn't occurred to him, of course, that ET technology would be so advanced that they could glean any information, any intelligence they wanted to about American military installations from orbit. You know, the American military would be completely unaware of it. They wouldn't need to fly low over bases and all this sort of stuff. It's just completely ridiculous. Harry Reid said that he knew, Senator Harry Reid, he's dead now, Grush and Elizondo often quote him. But what they don't tell you is that Harry Reid said, it's Vlad. We know these drones are Russian. The drones swarming American warships are Russian. And I'll leave a link below to the article where Harry Reid tells a newspaper that. And Coulthart is trying to talk this up. Oh, they're not drones, you know. ET would not need to hover 20 feet above an airbase to get any information about it. They would have sensors that would tell them absolutely density of nuclear weapons and everything else from space. They wouldn't need to hover around over a bloody shed full of atom bombs. You know, it's rubbish. Drivel. Critical thinking. Anyway, time's up. As always, if you've struggled through the video all the way to this point, many thanks for watching, and maybe I'll catch you again.